discussion. And hopefully that tees up this next project here. So again, we've received the application. The intent today is to preview this with you. And the sort of timeline is that we would expect to come back in the next quarter's meeting with an actual request. So this is the proposal for 3 Discovery Square by the Mortensen team. Our summary, high-level summary here, that it's a 7-story building. I think everyone's familiar. It kind of fills out the block that Discovery 1 and 2 are currently on. It's proposed to be a half lab space, half CGMP space. So what is CGMP? That's a certified good manufacturing process facility. So a sort of small scale bio manufacturing facility that actually has to meet FDA requirements. That's a pretty complex process. So very unique space type. I do not believe there are any other spaces like this in the state of Minnesota. And so that is a very unique aspect of this proposal. That does drive up the total development cost for a building like this. It's coming in at about a $73 million total project cost. And you can see there the split of what is in our application in terms of the debt, owner equity, and the requested public subsidy amount of $12.7 million. Taxes and jobs is projected to create up to 330 permanent jobs and increase the tax capacity of what is today a surface parking lot into $951,000 a year tax capacity. So where are we in the process? We hope to have a discussion with this board here today. We're continuing to review the details of the application and also are in the midst of continued market evaluation and many conversations with both people in the entrepreneurial fields and within Mayo Clinic to understand exactly this CGMP space type and what sort of economic and market sort of characteristics it might bring. And then we're also looking at what are the creative financing or look back sort of options that we could structure around this deal. And, so doing our due diligence and continuing to review this project. So open it up to questions or comments.
So Catherine and Patrick, this is very exciting. This continues to be an example of the kind of investment that we want to see occur in the community and building on struck by the almost identical proposed contribution between DMCC and equity funds, and I think it would be very important to understand what causes the market gap, and if we're going to invest at that level, is there some creative way to structure our financing, our participation, so that we have some upside potential as well in the future. So I appreciate that you've got that on the agenda for your work plan. Comments, questions?
How does this compare with our participation in Discovery Square 1 and 2? What was it?
Great question. Patrick, comparison to our financial contribution for 1 and 2?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Tyne, our participation in 1 Discovery Square and 2 Discovery Square as a percentage of the project, perhaps slightly less, more in the 15% range when compared to 17%, so slightly less. I would say another part of our participation as we mature as an organization, we developed an arrangement with Mortensen around into Discovery Square on what we call a look-back provision. So should the project outperform their pro forma and their expectations, there was provisions that would adjust the amount of financial support that ultimately would come, or modifications to the building to meet other objectives that we have around community purpose. And Mortensen has been very receptive to those ideas, and we would continue to expect those conversations and their own creativity coming to the table on that. So that would be my response to.
Thank you. Member Rickett.
First off, I think the commissioner's question here is a really, really good one toward the idea that we're stimulating markets and then having the private sector pick up more and more. This should have percentage-wise, a lower percentage of our investment than we did in the other two projects. And I think that's an important principle. On the flip side, I don't really see any ceiling on our partnership here. This is a really important project for us. So if we can get the percentages right, but then to this point that the chair raised, this issue of how we are a partner as opposed to taking the risk and the private developer takes all is something that I think we should be thinking a lot about at the time of sale. If this winds up having been a phenomenal investment and we took some risk, let's, as a partner, be part of that. Conversely, if you look at things like the lab space and the CGMP space, these are potentially public amenities. And it may make sense for our investment to be targeted to those public amenities, which may especially keep those amenities public, as opposed to somebody else buying the building and then removing those things that are intended to stimulate the medical, the translational research part of our work. So I think we can get real creative with this. I want us to be highly motivated to help on this, but I want us to be seen as a partner representing the community.
And Patrick, I know that we have looked at what restrictions might apply around our source of funding to various creative partnership opportunities. So we know that that will be part of the discussion as well when you come back in September. And as well, we'd probably appreciate hearing a little bit about parking, mobility, public transit implications from this development. I want to keep us on point though on our agenda. I'm starting to drift a little bit, but I see that Member Carlson has a comment or question.
I'll just very quickly say my initial reaction is a little bit not quite as enthusiastic, just hearing that we are yet to lease any of the space in Discovery 2. So at this point, I'll just say I'm really open to learning and hearing more in September about the next steps on this work and whether we're making some progress towards leasing Discovery.
Thank you. Patrick, why don't we move on to the EDA work plan?